Alright, so looking at your stuff here, this is Dominik Gutzeit. If I murdered the last name, I'm sorry. But looking at your stuff here, the first thing I would say right off the bat is that that the problem you have, and I know this is work in progress, and I know this is you're kind of stuck, you're feeling stuck, and I think the reason you're feeling stuck is it's partially because it's not dramatic enough. And I think it's not dramatic enough because you're using kind of this cinematic approach when I think you could be looking at much more of the emotional situation. And so what that means is, you know, you've got this is your focus area here, and so, and I know this means like redoing it, but you want to probably put more focus, more emphasis on these guys here than on anything else going on, because everything is, as of right now, the thing that I'm looking at the most is the building. And the reason I'm looking at the building is because of the simple fact that it's one, the visually the brightest, and it comes out much more of a, you know, it's the largest, it's the visually the brightest. So you know you're having issues with telling that story of these kids, and so I would have changed the camera angle, experimented with it a little bit, and had more of the visual interest on the kids with the stuff going on in the background. And I think that would have told the story a bit more. But without starting over, without, you know, basically working on what you're doing now, the things that I would do is first, you know, you've got this character in the background, and the problem with this character in the background is visually, this building here is kind of that same principle of approach. And so what I would do is I would actually, to visually tell this a little bit more interesting, is I'm going to grab just kind of this guy here, and I'm just going to cut him out real quick here. And so we're going to just cut him out, and I'm going to transform him first to be just drastically bigger, maybe a little bit smaller so he's not tangenting out there. But that's the first thing I would do is make him drastically bigger. And then what I'm going to do is take the same guy, and I'm going to clone him, and I'm going to again transform him drastically bigger and a little bit into the background a little bit. So, and the reason I'm doing that, and then I'm going to go to my adjustments and hue and saturation, and I'm going to darken him to be kind of that foreground color, and I'm going to add a little bit more saturation in there. And so the reason I'm doing this, and I'm going to just erase this out so I don't see it, and then we're going to, I'm going to grab this guy here, and just kind of zoom him out like so. Okay, so that's the first part, and the second part is, this is my foreground element here. Alright, so with these two parts, I'm going to now cut, oops, and then let's adjustments, invert that guy, and then I'm going to erase oops, erase out some of this so that it makes a little bit more interest here. And the reason I'm doing this is because, one, it helps for the repetition. That is something that is putting in there. And then this guy here, I'm going to grab this, and we're just going to mask him out. And let's again invert. Control I. So deselect. Okay, so now look at how these guys look. And I'm going to just go back into this layer here and kind of clean up some of this. So now I've taken away that big block of the building. You know, the building is no longer the focus. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this. I like this, how you worked on this here, this like little section here. So I'm going to just go over here, and I'm going to copy this and put this back up here, and then I'm going to grab this one and move it slightly over and transform it a little bit like this so it looks a little bit more interesting. And then I'm going to erase some of this off here, make it look back in the scene. And then from there I would go in and we're going to add some of these dark values here. I'm just going to lock this layer real quick, and we're going to add some of these dark values just to kind of emphasize like so. And because of the shadows that you put here, you're going to get a little bit more interest now. And then what we can do is we can add in this drop shadow here, and let's add in kind of the way the lighting is going. It looks like kind of, oops. Oh, I've got that on there. Okay, so I'll just create a new layer real quick here. But the way you've got the drop shadow, then we can put in this dark shadow, just kind of erase that one. And like so. And then we're going to grab some of these highlights here and again kind of focus the element like so. And so what's happening now is I'm getting a lot more of the interest. And I'll actually cast some of the shadow here. I'm getting a lot more, I'm breaking up the scene a little bit. So I don't have that big building in there, and I don't have the other one being smaller. It's selling that a little bit more. Now this is just one way I would kind of fix it, but the other thing you want to do is you want to start implementing more of this light source here. So if you highlight the children's face, highlight the children's arm like he's in the shadows a little bit more, and maybe even like pop the knee out so you're getting that, just that hint of sunlight on there, that's going to give you enough noise that it's going to pop out that child a little bit more. And so, and then back here, I'm going to go in and really kind of darken this and kind of lighten this in the background. Let's dodge that a little bit. Midtones. So you see now by separating this element, you're giving him a little bit more to go with. There's that much more sense of danger going on, and I think that's what you want to achieve. Versus, before it was, looking at it before, you've got kind of, it's just like everyone's casually walking, and I get, but you want to get more of that sense of danger in, and that's why by simply putting in, that extra robot and putting in, maybe even some more of these guys, like I'm gonna just let's grab this and invert, and let's just grab this here, and let's copy this guy here. And so by simply transforming him and putting him, putting another guy in the scene, it now adds in a little bit more emphasis. It's the sense that, this guy is a little bit something like that. It's now gives you a little bit sense now that there's multiple people here, and he's almost, walking with it. So it's like more of there's an army going around hunting people, and that I think tells a better story than what you've got previously. And I think that's something that you want to really kind of emphasize in this. And it doesn't need to be, this, all intensive detailed piece, but you just want to have a little bit more going on. And so I want to be able to look at the children more to see the story. And that might be even something as simple as lightening up your shadows a little bit by simply adding a little bit less black in there and more color. I think that's going to, basically emphasize what you're trying to go for. So I hope that helps.
Hey, I wanted to thank everyone for subscribing to my Patreon, and if you haven't yet, check it out.